Good morning. This is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess, bringing you day 284 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation, where we use female words. This would be October 11th if you're starting at the new year. How can perception of order of difficulties be avoided? The belief in order of difficulties is the basis for the world's perception. It rests on differences, on uneven background and shifting foreground, on unequal heights and diverse sizes, on varying degrees of darkness and light, and thousands of contrasts in which each thing seen competes with every other in order to be recognized. A larger object overshadows a smaller one. A brighter thing draws the attention from another with less intensity of appeal, and a more threatening idea, or one conceived of as more desirable by the world's standards, completely upsets the mental balance. What the body's eyes behold is only conflict. Look not to them for peace and understanding. Illusions are always illusions of differences. How could it be otherwise? By definition, an illusion is an attempt to make something real that is regarded as of major importance, but is recognized as being untrue. The mind, therefore, seeks to make it true out of its intensity of desire to have it for itself. Illusions are travesties of creation, attempts to bring truth to lies. Finding truth unacceptable, the mind revolts against truth and gives itself an illusion of victory. Finding health a burden, it retreats into feverish dreams. And in these dreams, the mind is separate, different from other minds, with different interests of its own, and able to gratify its needs at the expense of others. Where do all these differences come from? Certainly they seem to be in the world outside, yet it is surely the mind that judges what the eyes behold. It is the mind that interprets the eyes' messages and gives them meaning, and this meaning does not exist in the world outside at all. What is seen as reality is simply what the mind prefers. Its hierarchy of values is projected outward, and it sends the body's eyes to find it. The body's eyes will never see except through differences. Yet it is not the messages they bring on which perception rests. Only the mind evaluates their messages, and so only the mind is responsible for seeing. It alone decides whether what is seen is real or illusory, desirable or undesirable, pleasurable or painful. It is in the sorting out and categorizing activities of the mind that errors in perception enter, and it is here correction must be made. The mind classifies what the body's eyes bring to it according to its preconceived values, judging where each sense datum fits best. What basis could be faultier than this? Unrecognized by itself. It has itself asked to be given what will fit into these categories, and having done so, it concludes that the categories must be true. On this, the judgment of all differences rests, because it is on this that judgments of the world depend. Can this confused and senseless reasoning be depended on for anything? There can be no order of difficulty in healing, merely because all sickness is illusion. Is it harder to dispel the belief of the insane in a larger hallucination as opposed to a smaller one? Will she agree more quickly to the unreality of a louder voice she hears than to that of a softer one? Will she dismiss more easily a whispered demand to kill than a shout? And do the number of pitchforks the devil she sees carrying affect their credibility in her perception? Her mind has categorized them all as real, and so they are all real to her. when she realizes they are all illusions, they will disappear. And so it is with healing. The properties of illusions, which seem to make them different, are really irrelevant, for their properties are as illusory as they are. The body's eyes will continue to see differences, but the mind that has let itself be healed will no longer acknowledge them. There will be those who seem to be sicker than others, and the body's eyes will report their changed appearances as before, but the healed mind will put them all in one category. They are unreal. This is the gift of its teacher, the understanding that only two categories are meaningful in sorting out the messages the mind receives from what appears to be the outside world. And of these two, but one is real. Just as reality is wholly real apart from size and shape and time and place, for differences cannot exist within it, so too are illusions without distinctions. The one answer to sickness of any kind is healing. The one answer to all illusions is truth. So today's passage is a deepening investigation as to why there is no order of difficulty in miracles and no order of difference in illusions. We've had it explained to us that perception is never reality. It is never knowledge. It is only a thing that happens in the gap of separation. And here we have it more deeply explained that in order to perceive, there needs to be contrast. For example, in sight, we have the contrast between light and dark, between red and green, between purple and yellow. With sound, we have contrast between loud and quiet, high and low, rough and smooth sounds, and so on and so forth with all our senses. We get data, messages, coming into our decision-making minds. And this passage explains that contrast is conflict. And it even describes how the different types of contrast are in competition with one another, vying for our attention. And then it has us extrapolate from simple points of data to whole scenarios, talking about the number of pitchforks the devil carries and that sort of thing. Basically, how surprising is what we are perceiving coming into our present moment. How much is it scaring us? How serious does it seem to be? How final does it seem to be? How much doom does it seem to hold in store for us? Today's passage then explains that it is our minds that are the meaning-giving machines, so to speak. Certainly our eyes do not give meaning to the things that our eyes are delivering to us to perceive. Nope, just the mind. The mind decides if something that the eyes are reporting is just an illusion. So when we train our minds to disbelieve in what is coming in through our sensory information, when we train our minds to believe that this is but a dream that is being generated by the mind, therefore, deep in the source from whence the dream springs, it can be changed, then that is what we will believe. We don't have to believe what our eyes report. And our eyes can only see through differences, as it says. If all is dark, we cannot see. If all was bright light, we also likewise could not see with the body's eyes. But beyond this, A Course in Miracles teaches us that our eyes go out like loyal servants to our mind and find witnesses to bring back to support what it is that we already believe. So, therefore, believing is seeing. What we see reflects our beliefs, which is what you would expect if everything that we think of as reality is actually a dream being generated by our thoughts. Therefore, as a student of A Course in Miracles, in my personal day in, day out experience, when something comes in that seems out of left field and completely surprises me, I have begun asking myself the following question: why did I dream that? It is interesting to ask that question and see what comes up in response. It's also been very interesting to see what happens when I offer something up to the Holy Spirit to be reinterpreted for me, to be healed for me, That's where the miracles happen. But I also understand that miracles only appear when I give up attack thoughts and all the various forms that attack thoughts take, which, as we've seen very, very recently, includes even being fearfully concerned for our loved ones. Even that is a thing to relinquish and ask for healing for. When I am fearfully concerned for my loved ones, I am the one who is in need of healing. When I truly trust love, I will only imagine them having great success and all their dreams coming true, great good fortune, and the thought will bring me joy and never intimidation or envy of any kind. And when it says the mind classifies what the body's eyes bring to it according to its preconceived values, judging where each sense datum fits best, I even find myself thinking of one of those machines where marbles are sent down through a series of obstacles, a labyrinth that sends them down in different directions according to probability, and then at the bottom the marbles end up in various slots according to which pathway was most likely for the marble to go down. If this is all a dream generated by our thoughts, I'm imagining that the screen, in essence, comes together made of these pixels based on us, our state, how we are in that moment, how much are we embodying love, and that it just completely changes what shows up in the present moment. After all, A Course in Miracles in the very early lessons tells us that we see nothing as it is now, and that we see only the past. What we think of as the past is shaping what we think of as the present moment. And that what accounts for the rigidity of what we're seeing, the consistency, supposedly, is that consensus reality experience where we've all agreed on certain limitations, and our expectations and beliefs in those limitations are interlocking with each other, creating this web of solidness that doesn't need to be that way. That if all of us as a whole reach a certain critical mass of being willing to disbelieve in this consensus reality, that it will start to come unglued from its rigidness, its seeming consistency, and more we will see inconsistencies that show us that it's just an illusion that each one of us is experiencing in our own way, and that we call the shots. It says there can be no order of difficulty in healing because all sickness is illusion, and, well, according to the teachings of A Course in Miracles, healing is an illusion too. It's just a more pleasant illusion, a more loving illusion that is closer to the illusion where absolutely everyone wins. It is the sort of illusion that love gives. It is not a nightmare, but it's still an illusion. And when we really get that, we won't think it a big deal however it shows up. It shows up how it shows up, and none of it's real. A healed body is an illusion. A sick body is an illusion. The only thing that's real is the thoughts that are generating it all. And the extent to which those thoughts are not love, even they are not real. Again, going back to the very beginning of A Course in Miracles, it says when we think we are thinking, our mind is actually blank, because pretty much all the thoughts we're thinking have not love in them, which makes them not real. We have to learn to give all those up too, and be only love. And it teaches us that the only love there is God's love. Everything that we have been thinking of as love also is tainted with not love, tainted with fear, tainted with hate. We gotta let that go too. Does that sound scary? It is scary to the ego. What do we get in exchange for all that letting go? Just happier and happier dreams. The Holy Spirit knows us and understands us. Truly, the only thing that is in the way is our own attack thoughts. We let those go and leave our mind an open space to receive. It's filled with love by love. And for now, yes, that shows up as an illusion because that's where we're at. And after reviewing what is the Holy Spirit, which is found in show notes, we go on to lesson 284. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. Loss is not loss when properly perceived. Pain is impossible. There is no grief with any cause at all. and suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. This is the truth, at first to be but said, and then repeated many times, and next to be accepted as but partly true, with many reservations, then to be considered seriously more and more, and finally accepted as the truth. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, and I would go beyond these words today and past all reservations and arrive at full acceptance of the truth in them. Mother, what you have given cannot hurt, so grief and pain must be impossible. Let me not fail to trust in you today, accepting but the joyous as your gifts, accepting but the joyous as the truth. If we look at this in the light of dream logic, that the images that we see can change and that none of them are real, pleasant or unpleasant, and yet love is gentle with our preferences. Love would rather that we have a pleasant dream, so long as we only desire pleasant for all of the creation, because when we wish otherwise, we are actually wishing it on ourselves. So long as we remove all of those judgments, all of those grievances, there's nothing to stand in the way of love giving us beautiful gifts that, yes, come in form, because form is a dream. And we've seen in the passage today the reasoning behind there being no difference from one illusion to another. It's all contrast, vying to be standing out from the background, and it is a form of conflict. Therefore, it is not peace. Peace is the homogeneity that is reality, where all is one, all is the same. There are no differences. That is threatening to the ego, but it is the only way that there can be peace. The ego's way is creating peace through conquest, through being the one that's on top. That peace is not for all, peace is for the elite. Peace is for those who fight and rise to the top. Even the concept of merit, of some meriting more than others, that's still the ego. That's not unity. It's a hard lesson for the ego because it turns everything that we think of as conventional wisdom on its head. But it is peace and gentleness. We can change all thoughts that hurt by not reacting to the meaningless illusions that pop up, like jump scares in the movie. We don't have to scream when the jump scare comes, when we know it's just an illusion. And when we send out only love, more and more, that's what comes back. This describes that process, that slow process, that first it is said, then it is repeated, then it's partly accepted with many reservations, then we begin to consider it seriously more and more, and finally accepted as the truth. This is the process of us receiving these principles that are in A Course in Miracles. And it is that we have the choice. We can change the nightmare. But we do not do it alone. That's the catch. And we have to give up all attack thoughts, all judgment, all criticism, all grievances. Because when we are the ones calling all the shots, there's no justification for what we ourselves caused. What's the point in being angry? Correction is not of punishment. Correction smooths over without doing harm. It never does harm to the one who made the mistake. May we receive this peaceful and joyous message. Happy practicing.